podcast. They have a big billboard on Washington Avenue. Managed IT, unified communications, cloud services. Let them be your chief technology ally.
Hello, Minnesota sports fans. This is Michael Thanner, founder and CEO of WizKids. WizKids is a Minneapolis-based managed IT, hosted VoIP, and cloud services provider. Businesses today require fast response times, skilled support staff, clear communication, and technology recommendations that align with their business goals. At WizKids, we do this each and every day with our clients. When you call into our help desk for support or work with one of our higher-level engineers on a complex issue, you'll find our staff personable and ready to roll up their sleeves to help you solve your technology problems. Reach out to WizKids today to find out how we can help your business meet your technology goals. Visit us online at wizkids.tech. That's wizkids.tech. WizKids, make it happen.
Any other meat on the bone as far as hirings and firings? Well, let me ask you this about Bruce. I mean, listen, I don't wish the man any ill. I like the way he coaches. I think he's fun to have around. Would he coach again, or is this his last stop?
Well, it's funny because I've talked to Bruce about this, and he's like, this one's got to last because this is probably it. Because his whole point is who's going to hire a 67-year-old coach. And
a lot of people might for like a interim.
Well,
thing,
look at this.
Right?
I mean, look what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, Hitch keeps on coming back. Quenville, who's in his 60s, is going to coach again. Larry Robinson is suddenly back on now he's doing it on an interim basis, but he's suddenly back on St. Louis's bench. So it's good for the old guys. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But for all of for at least my health, I hope that Bruce is here for a long time.
Did you see the video of Q doing shots?
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
You gotta love it. Remember, Q is the guy that when the Wild beat Dallas in Game 82 in 2000 and what would have been 8 or 7? Well, it might have been. Can't remember if it was 7 or 8. They beat Dallas in Game 82, and what that meant was that Mark Crawford's Dallas Stars missed the playoffs, and the Chicago Blackhawks made it as the eighth seed. I bet it was 07 because I think it was the year that they won their first cup. Andrew Brunette, it had to be 07 because in 08 Brunette played for for Chicago. Hopefully I'm not getting this all wrong. But Quenville sent a Bud Light truck to Andrew Brunette's home in Woodbury as a thank you and dropped off cases of beer for Andrew as a thank you.
One of the Blackhawks beat writers, when Q left, he tweeted a story out. I apologize, I can't give proper credit because it just popped in my head. I didn't plan on talking about it. He said that Quenneville, after maybe the first Stanley Cup championship, and Q was notorious for being boring in press conferences. Right, he was intentionally boring. So the beat writer sees him. It's like Ditka's, or if it's not Ditka's, it's someplace like that in Chicago, and everybody's doing shots. Everybody's partying up a storm. Q comes in a back entrance. Everybody's mobbing him. He's hugging everybody. He's kind of like Norm in Cheers, right? Mm-hmm. So the beat writer goes over, shakes his hand, and Q goes, "Man, wasn't that a great ride? Wasn't that great to be a part of?" And so the beat writer sees Q like next training camp or whatever, and goes up to him and said, "Man, I didn't realize you had such a following at Ditka's." And Q said, "Oh, really? That was actually the first time I'd ever been there." Yeah. He walked in the door and he was the hero.
Yeah. Q likes to. Q's a man of the people.
Yeah.
How about this one? This just popped in my head as I was driving here. I was thinking, there's a chance that somebody's been texting with him, and I don't think he's going to be in a hurry right now to take another job. And again, as I've said on this podcast. He's owed a lot of money by Chicago. They control where he goes, especially if it was St. Louis. Are you going to let him go to a division rival unless you're going to pick up the whole thing? And then you got to pay him on top of that. Plus, both Edmonton and St. Louis have to pay their, both McClellan and Yo 2 more years. If you're Quenville, do you sit on the sideline, see what's happening? Then what happens after this year if Stan Bowman's fired?
Yeah.
Could you maybe go back to Chicago as the coach? With either a potential new GM or even have some sort of managerial role there. So I think Quenneville's he's in the driver's seat here. He can wait as long as he wants. He's going to have his picking of places to coach. The other thing, by the way, to the guy that took a shot at Mike Yeo, I mean, this is the third time Joel Quenneville's been fired.
Right.
You are hired to be fired. As I texted with Yo today, I mean, we were texting. Like, It's a brutal business, man.
Yep.
It just is. It's the only job in the world. Like even you and I, you take a job, you're never expecting to be fired.
No. And to be honest, in our industry,
you're never fired. Yeah.
Well, I mean, businesses come and go, and you can get laid off. But the people in our business who are good at what they do don't get fired.
Right.
The business might fail, but they don't get fired.
And most of us in every day of life take a job, and you're not expecting that one day you're going to be called in and you're let go.
Right.
This is the only job on earth, as in terms of a coach, where you know that one day you are going to get absolutely canned, and it's probably going to be in 2 or 3 years. You are taking a job knowing that in 2, 3, 4 years that you're probably going to be let go. And Ken Hitchcock's is a Hall of Fame, is going to be a Hall of Famer, been fired a gazillion times. This is the job. And that's what I laugh when I look at Twitter and everybody making fun of, oh, you see, we told you, Yo can't coach. Every coach is hired to be fired.
Absolutely.
And the Wild have done nothing since Mike Yeo was fired. Mike Yeo brought this team to places it has not been before. Even Jacques only got him past the first round once.
Yep.
So, my God here, to sit there and say, yep, we knew it. We were right. The Fire Yeo Brigade was right. We told you he can't coach. See, he was fired by St. Louis. Let me just tell you, St. Louis hasn't won a Stanley Cup in their history. They are perennial failures. That organization, you think you have it bad here in Minnesota, those people in St. Louis have it awful. They've done nothing in their entire time watching hockey. So what Mike Yeo did the last couple of years and seeing them flounder again is nothing different. In fact, it seems to be a trend. So, that's what I got to say on that.
I love it when we get you fired up, man.
Yeah.
And look,
it's the same guy that gets me fired up on Twitter about everything.
Which is great. And thank you, Guy, on Twitter for getting Michael fired up. If you didn't do it,
I can't remember which one. He's either a Dubnyk hater or a Koivu hater. I can't remember which one. He's one or the other. Same guy.
The interesting thing is, isn't it different? I was thinking about this today. Because, I have to write about should they hire this guy, should they fire this guy. It's part of my job to critique these kind of moves, even though I don't always enjoy doing it. And it is amazing, the double standard, too. It's like, I was thinking, if somebody becomes like a vice president in a business, right, and makes good money, and the business does pretty well, and they never become a president, and their organization never wins whatever the top award in that industry is, you look at that person and you say, wow, what a success story, right?
Yeah.
That guy did great. Guy or woman did very well for themselves, and they supported their family, and maybe they did good things in the community, whatever. We think of those people as I hate the word elite, but for lack of a better word, elite, right? And if somebody rises to the top, there are just not many of these jobs. NHL coach, Major League coach, NFL coach, they rise to that job and they win a certain amount of games. They hold on the job for a while. They treat people decently, and they become these villains.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and the other thing is, and not to sit there and continue to rip on fans, but my favorite thing is that fans for the most part think that they know that they somehow know more than Bruce Boudreau or Mike Yeo or blah 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 blah, and it's just not the case. And also there's
they
always
only know more than PJ Fleck, not the other coaches.
That might be true, and there's actually a perfect example. PJ Fleck, I was just listening to his radio show on there, and I was rolling my eyes throughout the entire show.
Better you than me, man.
But there's an example of where I'm totally on the outside. So everything he says, I just kind of scoff at and think, well, he's full of this and full of that. And the reality is that also when you are on the inside, there are so many dynamics that that the average fan doesn't know that led to certain decisions that can never be just put out there. And that's why, when I look at the Blues, there's major issues on that team. There just is. There 100% is. And that's what they better get it to the bottom is. That's so beyond coaching. And the other thing is that, again, as fans, you should know that the reality is that they made all their offseason moves this year. The GM is protecting himself at this point. He's the one that's made all these personnel decisions.
And he's fired 3 coaches.
And he's fired coach after coach after coach there. Same thing, you think Peter Chiarelli, who's made the worst trades in the NHL the last couple of years, should be absolved of what's going on in Edmonton? It's not built in reality. Tom McClellan is still a great coach. Now, with all that said, after Mike Yeo was fired last night, I went on because I was interested to see if his tone in the post game, and this is an actually interesting little kind of soliloquy here.
You know what? Let's get to this 1 second. Let's pause just to thank Delano's Pizza, Delano'sPizza.com. They've been doing it for 60 years. Jared,
November 30th is our next.
And that's a Friday, right?
Yeah,
we're
6
good
p.m.
doing it on a Friday night.
Yep, I think
okay,
so.
We're gonna try out something new. 6 p.m. on Friday, November 30th. We're gonna do a show from Delano's Pizza downtown. Usually we do Tuesdays or Wednesdays. We want to try out a Friday. It also fits into everybody's schedule with Michael traveling all over the world. So come down to Delano's Pizza. It is 118 North 4th Street, Minneapolis, Minnesota. 118 North 4th Street. That's 4th with a numeral 4. If you want to order pizza from them, you can reach them at 612-767-9494 or just go to delanospizza.com and order online. I usually just use the online mechanism. It works very well. Jared makes his own proprietary tomato or marinara sauce. It's outstanding. The people who've come out to our live shows love it, and they tell me so. We had a bunch of people we were hanging out with after the show the other day telling us how much they love the food and the atmosphere. All the big screens, all the drinks, all the beers you could want. I appreciate they have really good gluten-free crust that makes it a go-to for me. Again, 612-767-9494, delanospizza.com. Pizza Today recently named them one of the 100 best independent-owned pizzerias in America. I think that says it all. And remember, 6 o'clock, November 30th, at Delano's Pizza in downtown Minneapolis. Come on, stop on by and hang out with us. At least do happy hour with us. We'd appreciate it. So continue with your thought.
What was I saying?
You were talking about Yo's tone. Post-game.
So I wanted to see if you remember when he was fired after the Boston game here, 3 Februarys ago. We all kind of, I had written.
Yeah.
We were in St. Louis. Chuck Fletcher gave him a vote of confidence. I wrote a big story. Chuck Fletcher doesn't know what the F he's talking about. Here's what's really going on. And I think at that point, Mike Yeo knew that he was in deep trouble because he probably knew that I was clued in. And so after they have a horrific homestand, they lose to Washington, they lose to Boston, the question is, do you think this is it? And he basically, if you remember the quote, was like, I'm not freaking quitting, blah, blah, blah. Well, he was fired minutes later.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see if his tone after that last night's press conference was similar. Well, here's the interesting thing. For 5.5 minutes, he talked about the team. And we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And even the questions by the media, you could tell they were all almost fatigued by asking him for the last month if he thought his job was in jeopardy.
And so
nobody thought it was coming yesterday, especially because they played a game decimated with injury and guys out of the lineup. Well, this is to get back to my point on this needed to happen. I watched the presser, and I think we all know my respect level for Mike.
Yeah.
He had no answers. There were a lot of nonsensical answers. He didn't know how to answer certain questions. Somebody asked him I think it was the columnist Ben there, asked him, essentially what can you do to tweak things? And he went through we're going to watch video, we're going to do this, and video and tape and video and video.
He didn't know.
And then his last question, same thing. He kind of talked in circles, and whether I got to think that Doug Armstrong just said enough. It just needed to happen. There's nothing more you could do. Mike doesn't want to get fired, but I got to think a lot of times you're like, I've tried everything, just sucks. It sucks to lose your job, but even Mike probably is like, look, it needed to happen.
Here's the other aspect of all that. They do make a lot of money. And one of the reasons they make a lot of money is because it's a high-stress job, it's a difficult job, and it's an uncertain future in that job. So, again, if you can pull yourself back from the emotion of being fired, which has to be very difficult for anybody with any pride, you kind of balance out and say, okay, well, I'm in the head coaching loop. I'm going to have these stints of 2 or 3 years in a row where I make – what are they? Was he making $1 million?
He's making $2 probably.
$2 million. So
McClellan was making $3 a year. Quenville was making $6 a year.
So it's
also the other job, you're hired to be fired, but you're also usually taken care of.
Right. You get to the end of your tenure and you have money in the bank.
Yep.
You get to take a break, and then you come back either as a head coach or an assistant or a consultant or whatever. It's if you can get over the emotions of the moment, it's still a good gig.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And the new thing is consulting jobs after you're fired.
Right.
So an example is Bruce Boudreau. He's got 2 years left on his deal at $2.5 million or so. But then he's got a couple years on a consulting deal to continue with the organization. So theoretically, even though it's a lot less money, even if Paul Fenton says after 2 years or a year or whatever that you're no longer the coach here, he still has a pretty nice paycheck